The sky above the kingdom was heavy with storm clouds, gray and thick, as if the heavens themselves whispered secrets that no one dared to hear. In the high towers of the royal castle, servants hurried through stone corridors, their steps echoing like distant drums. Whispers floated through the halls, whispers of a child born in secrecy, a daughter of the king but not of the queen. They called her the bastard princess, a name meant to cut, meant to isolate. Yet in the quiet, shadowed corners of the castle, she walked with a quiet courage that none could name. Ilara, the young princess, ran her fingers along the cold stone walls of the corridor. She was small for her age, but there was a fire in her green eyes that made even the bravest courtiers pause. Her hair, dark as midnight, fell in waves over her shoulders, catching the flicker of candlelight and giving her a strange, ethereal glow. She had spent her life balancing between two worlds, the one of noble courts full of glitter and poison, and the one of silence, solitude, and hidden knowledge. Today was different. There was a tension in the air that even Ilara could not ignore. The servants whispered more than usual, their voices sharp, fearful. And then, in the shadowed hallways, she heard the sound of armor, metal brushing against metal, steady and precise. It was the Alpha. The Alpha was a man whose name was spoken with both respect and fear. Tall, broad, and silent, he moved like a shadow itself, a figure carved of steel and discipline. He had served the kingdom for decades, protecting its rulers and striking down threats before they could take root. But today he had come for her. The king had given the order in a low, hurried voice, eyes full of worry. She must be protected. No matter what, he had said. Ilara met him in the courtyard. Rain had begun to fall, light at first, like silver threads brushing the stone, then harder, hammering the walls with the sound of 1,000 drums. The Alpha's dark eyes met hers, unflinching, and she felt the weight of his gaze, a strange mixture of warning and something softer, something that unsettled her. You are to remain under my protection, he said, his voice low, steady, carrying the weight of command. No harm will come to you while I stand by your side. Ilara lifted her chin, her eyes flashing. I do not need a guard. I am not weak. He said nothing, only watched, as if he could see the truth in her words and in the unspoken fear that lingered beneath them. The castle was not the only danger. Beyond its stone walls lay the forest, ancient and vast, full of secrets older than the kingdom itself. Some whispered it was cursed, that the trees themselves remembered the sins of kings long dead, and now it seemed the forest stirred, aware of the princess who walked too close to its edges. That evening, as the storm grew stronger, Ilara wandered near the forest gates. She had heard rumors of a secret grove, a place where the magic of the old world lingered. Her curiosity was stronger than her fear. She stepped into the shadows of the trees, the Alpha close behind her, silent as ever. The forest was alive with sound, the rustle of leaves, the cry of distant birds, the murmur of something unearthly. Shadows moved at the corner of her vision, dark shapes that seemed to watch her every step. She shivered but did not turn back. You should not come here alone, the Alpha said, his voice cutting through the rustling leaves. I am not alone, she replied sharply, though her voice betrayed a hint of fear. You follow me everywhere. I follow because I must, he said, his tone softer now, almost regretful. It is not a choice. The forest seemed to close around them, the rain thickening into sheets, the wind whispering warnings through the branches. And then she saw it, a figure darker than shadow moving among the trees, silent, watching. Her heart skipped, but the Alpha did not flinch. He stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the unknown threat. Ilara, he said, his hand lightly touching her shoulder, grounding her. Stay close. Do not look away. The figure moved closer, and in that moment she realized it was not human. It was a shape that flickered and twisted like smoke given form, eyes glowing with an unnatural light. The forest seemed to hum with its presence. Ilara felt a strange pull, a mix of fear and fascination. She could feel the power of her own blood stirring, a secret she had never understood. Her pulse quickened, not from fear alone, but from something deeper, something ancient and powerful waking within her. The Alpha's hand on her shoulder tightened, and she looked up at him. For the first time, she saw not only the armor, the strength, but the man beneath, the sorrow in his eyes, the weight of battles fought and promises broken. He was not invincible, she realized. He carried burdens she could not imagine, and yet he would not falter. The shadow lunged, a rush of wind and darkness, The Alpha moved first, raising his sword, the blade catching the light of lightning flashing through the trees. Ilara stumbled back, the wind tearing at her hair, the rain blinding. But even as fear gripped her, she felt a strange courage rise. She had lived in the shadows of this kingdom, hidden and despised, yet here in the heart of danger, she was seen, not as a bastard, not as a secret, but as someone who mattered. The Alpha struck a clean, precise motion. The shadow twisted, recoiling, then vanished, leaving only the whisper of wind and the smell of rain-soaked earth. Silence returned, but it was different now. The forest held its breath, as if acknowledging her presence, her blood, her power. Ilara's chest heaved and she turned to the Alpha, eyes wide. What was that?" He did not answer immediately. Instead, he looked at her with a mixture of awe and something else, something unspoken. "There are forces in this world older than kingdoms," he said finally, "and some of them are drawn to you." Her mind spun. She had always known she was different, that the blood in her veins carried secrets the court did not understand. But she had never imagined this, never imagined the forest itself recognizing her, acknowledging her. "You are not safe," the Alpha continued, his voice firm yet softer than before. "And I will not let them take you, not while I breathe." Ilara looked at him, a strange warmth stirring in her chest. It was not love, not yet, but it was something. Trust, perhaps, or recognition. Two lost souls, bound together in the shadows of a kingdom that sought to deny them both. The storm began to ease, the rain softening to a gentle drizzle. Mist rolled through the trees, curling around their feet like living fingers, and in that mist, Ilara saw the first glimmer of a possibility she had never allowed herself to imagine. That she could survive, that she could fight, that she could be more than the bastard they whispered about. But the forest had not finished with her. A voice, soft and melodic, echoed through the trees, carried by the wind, almost a whisper. "Child of the hidden blood. The path is not yet clear." Ilara froze, staring into the mist. The Alpha's hand found hers, steady, grounding. "Do you hear that?" she asked, voice trembling. He nodded, his jaw tight. "Yes, and we will face it, together." A branch cracked sharply nearby, and both of them turned. The shadow that had fled was not gone. It lingered, watching, patient, waiting for the next moment to strike. And in that moment, Ilara realized that her life would never be simple again. She had a protector, yes, but also a destiny she did not yet understand. A destiny that could demand everything of her, including her heart. The Alpha tightened his grip on his sword, his eyes scanning the forest, never leaving hers. "You are not alone," he said. "I swear it." And in the mist, the forest seemed to answer, the trees bending slightly, whispering in voices older than time itself, as if acknowledging a child of secret blood and the warrior who would stand by her, against the darkness of the world and the shadows that sought to claim her. The night deepened. Rain fell in silver sheets, and somewhere, in the heart of the cursed forest, a presence waited, patient, watching, knowing that the story of the bastard princess and her Alpha protector had only just begun. End of Part 1. Cliffhanger. The shadow's eyes glowed brighter in the mist, and the forest stirred as if alive. The princess felt it deep in her bones. The danger was far from over, and the forest itself seemed to hunger for her secret bloodline. The Alpha's hand tightened over hers. "No matter what comes," he said, "I will not let them take you." Ilara's heart raced with both fear and something unnameable, knowing that this was only the beginning of a path that would change her life forever. The forest around them seemed alive, breathing, whispering, remembering. Mist clung to their clothes, and the silence between the trees carried voices that were not human. The shadow they had faced had vanished, yet its presence lingered like smoke after a fire. Ilara stood close to the Alpha, her hands still trembling slightly. She did not speak, and neither did he. Their breaths came in rhythm, the only sound in the heavy stillness. When dawn finally broke, the world looked different. Sunlight pierced the fog in thin golden lines, and the trees stood tall and quiet again. The storm had passed, but the unease in Ilara's heart had not. She knew the shadow had not been just a creature. It had been a warning. The Alpha watched her quietly as they walked through the forest path. "You should not have entered this place," he said softly. "I had to see it," she replied. "I had to know why everyone fears it." He looked at her, his eyes dark with something unreadable. "Curiosity can lead even the strongest to ruin." Ilara smiled faintly. "And yet you followed me." The Alpha said nothing. Perhaps he had no answer. Perhaps he simply did not want to admit that his duty had long since become something deeper, something he could not name. They walked for hours, searching for the way back to the castle. But the forest had changed. Paths twisted and shifted as if alive, and strange markings appeared on the trees, ancient runes glowing faintly, pulsing with a dull light. "The forest doesn't want us to leave," Elara whispered. He drew his sword, though it offered no comfort. "Then we will make it let us go." They followed a faint stream until they reached a clearing. In the center stood a great stone, cracked and overgrown with moss. Around it lay the remains of what seemed like an ancient shrine, broken pillars, worn symbols, and faint whispers of power. Elara stepped closer. As she touched the stone, it felt warm, alive. A flash of light ran across its surface, and her mind filled with voices. Not of the living, but of something older. Child of hidden blood. Born of betrayal and hope. She gasped and stumbled back. The Alpha caught her before she fell, his hands steady on her arms. "What happened?" he asked sharply. "I heard something," she said breathlessly. "Voices, they know me," he frowned. "Magic plays tricks. Do not listen," but she could not ignore it. The words had felt real, heavy, full of truth. The Alpha glanced at the stone again. "This place is not safe. We must move." Before they could leave, the wind rose and the trees began to sway violently. From the shadows around the clearing came faint shapes, more of those smoky figures gliding silently, their eyes burning like dying embers. The Alpha stepped forward, sword ready, his stance unshaken. "Stay behind me," he ordered. But Elara felt a pull, stronger than fear, stronger than reason. Something inside her told her that running would not save them this time. The shadows were not attacking. They were circling her as if recognizing her. And then, from the darkness, came a voice deeper than the others, smooth, ancient, echoing through the trees. "You carry the blood of the broken crown. You cannot run from what you are." Elara froze. The Alpha turned toward the sound, sword raised. "Show yourself," he demanded. From the shadows stepped a tall, ghostly figure draped in black mist, eyes like pale fire. It looked almost human, but there was something in its gaze, an ancient sorrow that chilled the air. "You should not exist," the spirit said softly. "Your birth broke the order of things. The forest remembers. The curse remembers." Elara's voice trembled. "Who are you?" "I am what remains of the oath your father broke," the spirit replied. "The kingdom's curse began with betrayal, and it will end with your choice." The Alpha stepped between them, his sword gleaming faintly in the dim light. "You will not touch her." The spirit's eyes turned to him, cold and knowing. "Protect her," it said. "You carry your own curse, bound to guard, bound to lose. Do you not tire of chains?" The Alpha's jaw tightened, but he did not answer. His silence spoke louder than any words could. Elara looked between them, confusion and fear twisting inside her. "What choice?" she demanded. The spirit lifted a hand. "You can surrender your blood to end the curse that stains your kingdom, or keep it and doom them all. But know this, the power in your veins will not rest. It will burn until it is set free." Before she could speak, the spirit vanished into mist. The forest fell silent again, leaving only the faint hum of magic in the air. Elara turned to the Alpha, her eyes wide with fear and disbelief. "He spoke of my father, of a curse. What does it mean?" He lowered his sword, his face unreadable. "It means the truth is worse than the lies you've been told." They made camp that night beneath the old stone. The Alpha kept watch while Elara sat quietly, staring into the flames. She could not forget the voice. The words echoed in her mind, mixing with doubt and fear. When she finally spoke, her voice was low. "You knew something, didn't you? About me?" He hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Yes, I knew there was something in your blood that frightened the court. The king feared you would awaken what was buried long ago. That's why he sent me, to keep you safe, but also to keep you from discovering it." Elara's chest tightened. "So I was never free. I was only contained." He met her gaze. "You were protected." Her voice broke slightly. "That's not the same thing." The Alpha looked away, the firelight reflecting in his dark eyes. For a long time, neither spoke. The night was quiet except for the soft crackle of the fire and the faraway howl of wolves. Then gently he said, "I made an oath to protect you, But if that oath keeps you from your truth, then perhaps I have failed. Ilara studied him, her heart heavy with something she could not name. You haven't failed, she said softly. You've kept me alive. Alive is not the same as free, he replied quietly. She looked into the fire again, her reflection flickering in the orange light. Maybe it's time I stop being afraid of what I am. He turned to her then, his voice firm yet warm. Then I will walk with you wherever that truth leads. Something in his words broke the last of her fear. The bond between them, unspoken yet strong, felt like a light in the darkness, a promise that neither curse nor shadow could break. By dawn, they were ready. Ilara stood before the stone again, her palms open. The forest watched in silence. She closed her eyes and spoke, her voice steady. If this curse was born from betrayal, then let it end with forgiveness. A pulse of light ran through the ground, spreading like ripples across water. The shadows screamed and vanished, the trees straightening, the air brightening with golden mist. The Alpha stepped closer, shielding her as the light grew stronger. When it faded, the forest was quiet again. The curse was broken, or perhaps only sleeping, but something had changed. The air felt lighter, freer. Ilara sank to her knees, exhausted but calm. The Alpha knelt beside her, his hand on her shoulder. It's over, he said softly. She looked up at him, tears in her eyes but a small, peaceful smile on her lips. No, it's beginning. He helped her to her feet, and together they walked through the forest as sunlight broke through the trees. The mist parted before them, and for the first time Ilara could see the castle towers in the distance. As they stepped from the forest's edge, the Alpha stopped and turned back. The ancient wood stood silent behind them, the curse undone, yet he could feel something watching, something waiting. Ilara, he said quietly, the forest will remember you. She met his gaze. Then let it remember me not as a secret, but as the one who faced it. He smiled faintly, and for the first time, it was not the smile of a soldier but of a man who had found peace. They walked toward the castle together, side by side, not as protector in charge but as two souls bound by destiny and choice. And far behind them, in the depths of the forest, a soft voice whispered through the wind, neither warning nor curse but a promise. The daughter of hidden blood walks free, and the Alpha keeps his vow. The sunlight touched their faces as they stepped into a new dawn. The shadows of the past had not vanished, but they no longer ruled them. Their story, born in secrecy and fear, had become one of courage, and the quiet, unspoken love that can rise even in the darkest of worlds.